Answers with Dr. Reju is a platform where we take a more in-depth and intentional look into various life issues and bring clarification so we can navigate our way through with knowledge. Join us on Patrice Radio as we take this journey to discovery. Do remember to follow, like, and engage us on Instagram at Patrice_radio and also on YouTube via Patrice Radio Live. Thank you.
A better Nigeria, is it a myth, or do we keep hoping?
Nigeria is a highly religious country. How come corruption thrives?
Why is adoption not encouraged in Nigeria? Is there a future for the Nigerian youth?
Being rich and famous, is that the only reason for being an artist?
What makes a great nation? Is it the leaders? What about the people?
This is Answers with Dr. Red.
Good evening and welcome to Answers with Dr. Reju, where critical life issues are always clarified. My name is Agnes and I am in the studio with my co-anchors, Joseph and Lois.
Hi Agnes.
Good evening. Alright, and of course Dr. Reju, the Chief Resource Person of the Center for Transformational Leadership, CTL. Just, you're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Agnes. Hi guys. Name, sir. Name.
Right. So today we'll be talking about civic responsibility. Yes. And this can simply be defined as the responsibilities of a citizen to his or her country. Right. And are we ready, guys?
Yeah, ready.
Okay. All right. So last week I was looking at the second line of our national anthem. And there was this part that says, to serve our fatherland with love and strength and faith. When I saw that part, I was like, okay, wow. To serve our fatherland with love and strength and faith. So I really want you to comment on that. So what does it really mean in reality in Nigeria to serve our fatherland with love and strength and faith?
Wow. For you to ask that question, first of all, basically drives home the point. It paints the reality that, as a society, we've not done enough in terms of orientation. Because in other climes, the national anthem, national pledge, and other national values are basic primary issues of education. I was sharing with some people of recent that I went to a high school in the US and I discovered that their most equipped laboratories, not their science laboratories, is their national history laboratory. That's one that's most equipped. Yeah. The history of America. So, there should be times when, because I'm not the one that wrote the national anthem, but I'll do my best, because the whole mind behind every line of the national anthem should have been taught. Parents should make out time to talk to their kids about it. You see, the very name of this, maybe your radio station, is actually out of that. Patrice Radio. The word Patrice is actually from the word patriot, So we need to build a kind of a patriotic attitude. So when you say, first of all, to serve, you can't serve. I'm going to take that line, bit by piece by piece. The very foundation there is to serve. You can't serve if you don't have a sense of patriotism. And you can only have a sense of patriotism because the word patriot, again, is where you get the word patriarch, which means a father or an ancestor. Right? So, and father is someone who is your source, where you come from. So you can't serve something that you don't have a sense of connection with. And I'm trying to play the devil's advocate here, trying to let the society know that this is what we should have done. Now, first of all, do we have a sense that Nigeria is our fatherland. We will not have that sense until we are taught, until we have a deliberate, intentional orientation to making that happen. And this program, we're just sort of contributing our quota in a very humble way, in a very little way. So whosoever is listening to me there, you have to understand that you can't serve another country because this is the only country you have. So do we see it as our fatherland before we begin to talk about strength and what again? And love, strength, and faith. So the key word there is service to your fatherland, is because you've already believed that. And you see, you don't get a father, you don't relate with your father only based on what he can give you, not what you receive from him, but the fact that he gave you life.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what no other person can give. So these are the things that we're kind of missing, that we've taken for granted. But let me stay with your question. That what exactly does it mean? You know, it basically means that, first of all, you recognize that this is your fatherland. And that's the truth.
Yeah.
That's the truth. Even if I have the passport of other countries, I have my country of base, I have my country of birth. Even if I wasn't born here, that this is where my parents come from, this is where my ancestors, that's my fatherland. So it starts from, first of all, recognizing it as my fatherland before I can serve with love, with strength, and with faith. You see, you don't love, when you serve with love, you are not serving with, to getting something in return. Like the former, it's just so, it can be very depressing that I have to always quote other nations. The most iconic statement that came out of an American president: don't think of what America will do for you. Think of what we can do for. No, those statements are made based on the fact that this is your fatherland. So love is when you serve without expecting anything in return. And with the whole of your strength. That means you give your best at every point in time. You reserve your best for your fatherland, right? And that's the mind that goes into, you want to work in the civil service, you want to work in the private sector, you want to work in the military, you want to anywhere, you want to give. At every point in time, you are playing football, you are very proud to wear the national colors. And then in faith basically talks about, it's not talking about any kind of church or any kind of mosque. It's basically talking about, something you do faithfully. Something you do with best of intention. Something that paints reality to you, right? So that's basically what it means. It's a line that from the cradle, kids should be taught.
Yeah.
They should have a sense of Nigerianness, that this is our fatherland. So that line is critical, and it's so interesting that it came out for you, and millennials out there need to understand that. Don't ever think of a country that somebody else will make happen for you. You need to think of a country that you can make happen, contributing your own quota, just as we are doing on this program.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. Based on your experience and interactions with people, both in business and private sector, the civil service and the civil society also, would you say that they love this country?
There is no way, if you're going to love this country, it has to be a personal choice. The environment that is created makes you hate the country. Because those who benefit from this country, I remember, there was a time we had a particular segment, on this program where, we asked people to talk about their patriotic moment. Those are kind of, simple ways of sensitizing people to really check their hearts whether they really have a sense of bonding, to the country. And the reason we did that then was to let people know that you won't love is not based on benefit. Love is based on sacrifice. Yeah, it's based on sacrifice. So people don't love this country because they've not benefited anything. Now, when you benefit from the country, it only helps what's already there. I remember I gave my own, patriotic moment then, and I said it was a time when my first daughter was about, I think she was about 5, 6, and she had a fractured arm. She was playing with a cousin, and then, played, and then we took her to Luth in Lagos. And the nurses were amazing. They took good care of her. And by the time I said, okay, how much? They said, it's free. He said, it's free. I felt so, so proud that, wow, this is the first time I'm getting anything free from my country. I've had to pay for everything, right? Even pay for something that I don't get in return. So I can't say that I've met people who really love this country, but I can say, I can say that for myself, that I have a huge passion for this country. And there are many others like that. But you see, those who love this country are not noising it enough. Yeah, we're not making noise about our love for the country enough. Maybe there's going to be another section of this program when we talk about tribes and all those kind of things. But, we've mentioned that in bits and pieces during this episode. But it's tough loving this country. That's the truth. It is tough loving this country. So it has to be much more than, what you receive. You have to love this country because you understand that you are supposed to. That is your civic responsibility, that you are supposed to love the country. You are supposed to serve the country. And the way the country can be positioned in such a way that you begin to benefit is when you serve. And when you serve, the results might take a long time before it manifests. Because the remnants of what we enjoyed while growing up in this country, they are products of those who have earlier, loved the country and they've served selflessly. Yeah. So, but now those things are gone. Those things are gone because we're in the time when a governor wants to be applauded for paying salaries. So that's how low. And when we talk about the problems of this country, what I'm doing in my, in my own little way is that when I talk about the problems of this country, I went to speak somewhere, last week, and one lady walked up to me and said, you didn't even mention anything about the country. It's very unlike you. Yes, I said, I'm learning not to complain. I want to work on the solution. I don't want to, put myself in a position where I'm always whining. So it's good to understand that you don't have to love your country because of what you receive. It's not just a right. It's not just it's a duty for you to be patriotic. And it's not based on, and is that patriotism that should influence advocacy from civil society groups? It's the same patriotism that will make me work well in the private sector, public sector, anywhere. So it's a sense of duty. It's that same thing that will make me pay tax. Yeah.
The government doesn't have to come knocking on the door.
Yeah. Nobody loves to pay tax anywhere in the world. No human being loves to pay tax. Yeah. The saddest day in America is the day of tax returns. People don't smile on that. Yeah.
Okay, let's move over to the next one.
Yeah.
Right. This one also got me thinking. Mm-hmm. Now, a part of the second stanza of the national anthem, right? So this one goes, "O God of creation, guide our noble cause, guide our leaders right, help our youth the truth to know." Yeah, that's the part. Now I'm curious. Help our youth the truth to know. What truth?
Yeah, it's something, again, it takes me back to Agnes sitting there today in 2019 asking. I don't know when this, the national anthem was changed, when? I think I was in, I think that was 1978, 77, 79, between that time. That was when we changed from Nigeria we hailed thee, to Arise, O Compatriot. So, for those long years, there's been no setting where you sat and somebody, sort of clarify what exactly it means, right? Now, what's truth? Truth is reality, right? Truth basically means reality, the way things ought to be. That's truth. The truth is that Agnes is female, right? The truth is that we're in this studio today. That's the truth. So, many times, people don't live in reality. People either live in the midst of their pain, of their past, or they live, in the ideal. But you can't do anything about your past. If you live in the future, you can only get frustrated. Your past will depress you or excite you, but it's gone. Mm-hmm. Right? It's gone. So, truth is reality. Let our youth, appreciate where they are, how they got there on the way to where they are going. That's truth. But many times, You know, the reason you have a lot of seminars here and there on identity, on all these kind of things, how to deal with the past, how to deal with depression, is because people don't live in truth. You don't accept the reality of your life. You know, and it's so good that the reason that line is saying that help our youth, why didn't it say help our elders? Right? Why is it not saying help our unborn children to know? Because the very core of society are those who can still serve in love, with strength and faith. Right? So the very core of any society that doesn't focus, so that particular line tells you how critical the people we always address on this program are.
Yeah.
Yeah. How critical. He didn't say help our elders. He didn't say help our unborn children. He didn't say help our children, but the youth. Because the most valuable asset of any society is the youth population. And the world has, the world has gotten younger. Population of the world now, 65%, even close to 70%, are youth. Yeah. They are. So if the youth will know the truth, society has future. But what we see today is that we when the truth don't know, who is the one that's been asked to help? Aha. Those should be the elders. But if the elders never lived in truth, because the elders should be kind of sharing their own experience as you. One thing that I always believe those who are around me who are young can hear from me is that I happen to be positioned by providence at a time in the history of this nation where things worked. Yeah. I saw a Nigeria at once that worked. I was in the university from 1982 to 1985. Right? I was in primary school from 1969 to 73, thereabout. Things worked. Right? I knew when things work. I knew when people just trekked to school. Right? I knew when, books were given free. When I was in the university, you need 150 kobo to eat good meal for a day. One meal is 50 kobo. When I did my youth service, my allowance was 250 naira. Right? At that time, dollar was weaker than the naira. So there was a time when things worked. And I can tell people that so that they can hope. Right? As I was with a younger friend of mine in England, I was telling him, don't be excited about all this. There was a time in Lagos, we have all these buses with numbers. And I was telling him he couldn't believe it. We have buses with routes, with numbers and everything. So, you discover that we have to know that true, we have a problem. True, but that's not the only truth. Truth is, problem can be surmounted. That this problem is not in the foundation of this country. They came, and they can go. If we will change our orientation. That was when we were discussing about restructuring in this program. And we said, what needs to be restructured first is our minds. So what are we going to do in our own little way? In spite of the toxic environment, right? When are you going to be taking? Because when you really know truth, you begin to take responsibility for where you are. If the youth have done their bit, we won't be where we are. But everybody had kind of hands off, and we're looking at going to Canada. Yeah, there's a Canada project everywhere. But I keep telling people it's my responsibility to tell you, if you go to Canada, you will never be accepted. You will always be a stranger. And no human love being a stranger. So that truth is reality. And it's the youth that, that actually needs it, because they're the ones that can really shape things. Hope I made sense. Right?
Yes, you did. Yeah.
So when you were speaking, I just discovered that there was a lot of, anger and grief, that have been inside my heart, just welling out. And, we have a responsibility as youth.
Yeah.
My question is, how can we connect? What is the process of connecting so that we can be patriotic? Because a lot of youth, a lot of young people have disconnected. They are very nonchalant about things that go on in the country. Yeah. Personally, I grew up hearing, that there was a good Nigeria, and then I can remember in one of the episodes you're talking about if you say good. It simply means that there is better.
Yeah.
But we're just basking in the glory of the good. And we don't even know how to get to better.
There's nothing as good as education and orientation and things like that. You can only begin if you know how you got to where you are. Let me tell every young person listening to me out there that the reason you are disconnected from the country is because there is a whole system built deliberately, by those who have been opportuned to hold positions of responsibility in the country, right, to make you guys disconnected so that they can continue to do the evil things that they are doing. It is not a happenstance. The reason the university system was destroyed is so that universities won't churn out people who can ask intelligent questions, people who can stand up and say, we want to question why things are not. So, they just make it, like it's a well-structured plan that's playing out. So, but the moment you know that, that's the beginning of change. That I am like this, I don't call them leaders, I call them opportunists who are in politics and all these guys. They like it when you say you want to go to Canada because you won't question about how they govern here.
You're not around.
The moment there is nowhere to go to, we have our backs to the wall. The smelly stuff will hit the roof. The rubber will hit the road. They don't want us to get there. And the youths out there need to understand it is an array, like fella will call it RNG. That you guys focus on running away so that you can leave us here to continue to maintain the status quo. But I come with a counter opinion. If you live 30, 40, 50 years I had a guy telling me this week the horrible story of a Nigerian that was deported, from London. They were on the same flight, that the guy was chained. He was chained. He was shouting in the plane and all those kind of things. You see, that happens almost every day. And this guy, oh my goodness, if I go into the story, it's very, very depressing. This is a guy whose kids were born there. The wife is still there. I don't know the whole story, for him to be chained. 5 British policemen escorted him to Nigeria. Right? He was shouting and he said when they were transiting in Paris, that was when the thing hit him. The police gave him a phone. You see, these stories need to be heard so that the young ones out there, they will really know that the responsibility of making things work here is ours and not to run away. See, this guy was given the phone to call the family and he was speaking with the children. He was asking them, I hope you went for your game today. How about mom? They say it's in the room. Is she still crying? Tell her I'll soon be back. That guy was just being yanked off from the family. I don't know. The guy said he's been in the UK for about 15, 16, maybe 17 years. Or maybe 27 even. Right? Now, you live in that place, maybe without documentation. Maybe, I don't know whether, flouted the law or whatever. But if that guy is in Nigeria, right? Because by the time he said the guy landed in Lagos and he looked at me and said, thanks, sir. We're home now. So you can't, running away can't be your next agenda. I'm not saying you're going to go there and find yourself in trouble or whatever, but running away won't develop this country. That's running away from the problem. I've said it many times here that I even tell my African American friends that if Africa does not develop, you as an African American or African British, you will never be respected anywhere you are. As long as you carry this kind of skin, you will never be respected. So, you see, I want the youths out there to pick up a sense of responsibility. That this country won't be built by any other person. We can't beg to be colonized again. Although some say that they don't know what it means to be colonized. Because we are even still colonized. So, yeah. But, how do you start? Know that the reason you want to run away, somebody structured it. And it's not for your benefit. It's not for your benefit. Somebody arranged it that educational system is destroyed. Somebody arranged it that you have to cut corners before you can make it. Somebody arranged it that you can't just apply for a passport and you get it. Somebody arranged that the police is this decimated. Somebody arranged that the army will just launch, a particular kind of campaign to say they want to be asking for ID cards, as if we're in a state of emergency. Yeah. Somebody arranged that for this country to be this way. And let me tell you this, it's very important I make this point. They are so few. We are more than them. And I'm not asking for any kind of violence or whatever, but if everyone that loves this country that has been quiet, we begin to speak out. We begin to demand for that which is, there's something I'm waiting for in this city. The day the road safety will stop me to ask me for my driver's license, right? I'm waiting for it. Because there's a reason to ask for a driver's license. They need to know if I have a driver's license or not. They have ways of knowing. They don't have to ask me.
Maybe that's why they won't stop.
Maybe that's why I'm waiting for them to stop me. And I'm talking to everybody out there. If any road safety guy stop you to ask for your driver's license, ask them, why are they asking you? Who issued it? How come you don't know that I have what you issued me? You see, we're not asking the right questions here. That's the truth that you need to know. Right? I'm waiting for them to stop me. And I'm going to tell them, you guys, I'm not in a hurry. So we're going to have a long discussion here.
Okay, I think it's getting heated over here in the studio. So let's take a musical break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is Answers with Dr. Raju. And we've been talking about civic responsibility. And one thing that was hitting me was patriotism is not a request, it's a duty. Yes, it's a duty. So I want you to clarify something. Mm-hmm. The fact that, because in this day and age, we have young people who are very, very, very passive about what goes on in the country. Mm. In fact, patriotism is ruled out of the virtues of the millennial. Mm. So I want us to, look at the consequences of this. Mm. And millennials are listening. So what does it say for us that we are passive, we are not concerned, we don't want to be bothered, we can't be bothered about what's going on in our country?
It will never work. Because for me, my definition of being a millennial is that you see yourself as maybe like a change maker, somebody who is a contrarian, somebody who is very innovative. Right, that's my own definition. But if you go to what psychologists say about millennials, they say they are lazy, they want independence, they want other kind of things. It's okay. That's for an observer. But I'm looking at what I see beyond the surface in millennials. They want to be heard, right? They want to be heard. But what I want them to add to that equation is that sense of responsibility. Them taking responsibility for where they are, and know that if I don't do it, it won't be done. Right? If I don't do it, and the belief that I can make a difference. Where that happens is because we are all product of our environment. And if we don't rise up and shape the environment, we'll continue to be victims of it, and then we begin to look for alternatives where we're going to become second-class citizens. So that disconnect is like what Lois just asked. That disconnect is what we need to address. Right? Is what we need to address. Reality, truth is I'm a Nigerian. And nothing is going to change that. Nothing is going to change that. I am a Nigerian. And I tell Nigerians that live abroad, even born abroad, I said, better tell yourself before you are told. Because it's going to depress you. The day they tell you don't belong here, it's going to depress you, even if you speak like them. It's happening now to Jamaica, people from the Caribbean islands. I've forgotten, the Windrush generation, those who actually were brought from the Caribbean. They built Europe, they built England. Many of them had lived there for 4, 5, 6 generations. They are shipping many of them back home, where they don't even have any kind of connection. So there's something that the millennials need to learn. That disconnect is not right, because many of them see it as civilization. Many of them see that I don't speak my dialect and they feel proud about it. I've given you that instance before. I was inside the train and I saw Ghanaians and Nigerians with their family. You know, I'm very observant. I like observing things. They were all speaking English with British accent. They're speaking British.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the Chinese. They're all speaking their dialects. These Chinese were born there. I saw the Indians. They were speaking their dialect. Only the Africans there were speaking English. And they are proud that they are even speaking it with a British accent. You see, these are things that we need to change. My daughter has been living in the UK for about 2-3 years. You know why she's visiting home right now? She says she misses fisherman soup.
Okay, what's that?
Fisherman soup is a delicacy here.
Okay.
There's hunter soup, there's fisherman. You know, if you guys don't live, you eat acha here. And all this kind of thing. No, so the point I'm trying to make is that when you leave this place, if this is where you grew up, you will know that when you go somewhere else, there's something that draws you back here.
Yeah.
And it's so good to make this place habitable. Right? So millennials, you are making a mistake. It is not civilization that you are not connected to your country. It's not. That doesn't make you it's not cool at all. Maybe I should use your language, right? Mm-hmm. It's not cool at all. We need to make this place a place that we can be proud of.
Okay. Right on time. So we've come to the end of today's episode of Answers with Dr. Raju. Hope you learned a lot. For me personally, I learned that if I don't do it, it won't be done. And if I don't make my country better, no one else will. Alright, so guys, don't forget to tune in next week for another exciting episode. Thanks for listening.
This is Partridge Radio.